My roommate wanted to upgrade to the latest phone and planned to work as a rental girlfriend during the spring festival, helping older single men deal with their family's pressure to get married. I was worried she might get scammed and advised her to be cautious. In the end, she gave up on the idea. But after the new year, she became envious of the money-making posts she saw online, blamed me for stopping her from earning money, and has held a grudge against me ever since. During a club hiking event, she pushed me off a cliff, leaving no trace of my remains. When I opened my eyes again, I had been reborn on the day my roommate asked if I wanted to rent myself out. I smiled calmly and said, "Whatever you like. Just go home with them for a few days during the new year. You don't have to do anything, just help fend off their families nagging about marriage. And you can earn a few $1,000s. Some men are quite generous. And they don't even ask for the red envelopes their elders give back. At this rate, you can easily earn 10,000 yuan in just 3 or 4 days. What a deal." At this moment, Chen Yao was beaming with excitement, a faint glimmer of anticipation visible in her eyes. As my consciousness returned, I realized I had been reborn on the day Chen Yao asked me if I wanted to rent myself out. In her past life, Chen Yao came across a post online. The blogger said she had worked as a rented girlfriend for 3 days during the spring festival. Apart from the agreed-upon 8,000 yuan, she also received red envelopes and meeting gifts from the man's relatives and friends during the new year, adding up to over 10,000 yuan in total. Chen Yao was very tempted, so she brought her phone over to ask me. She said, "Young people nowadays don't want to get married. Yet relatives and friends keep pressuring them, so they need a temporary girlfriend to help deal with their family. I rent myself out, pays. I show up, and after the new year, we part ways. In fact, I'm doing him a favor. Plus, after the new year, I can get the latest phone model." As her roommate and close friend, I was worried that she might be deceived. I patiently advised her not to fall for it. "You don't know him at all. How can you trust his words and know if he's a good person? What if he's a human trafficker who kidnaps women?" In the end, she dropped the idea and never brought it up again. Years later, when school started again, she came across that blogger once more, saying she had made another 20,000 yuan using that method. Chen Yao grew increasingly jealous and envious. She blamed me for stopping her from making money. "There aren't that many bad people in the world. I think you're just being paranoid." Even later, when I gave her that phone for her birthday, she still ended up hating me. During a mountain climbing event with the club, she took advantage of me being alone and ruthlessly pushed me off the cliff. Her voice was cold and dark. "Why should you be born luckier than me, with good parents who give you everything you want, while I have to rent myself out just to change my phone? Don't think I don't know you gave me that phone just to mock me for being poor in your heart. You can't stand to see me do well. Go to hell." Thinking of this, I smiled faintly. "You like it. That's all that matters." This time, I didn't try to persuade her right away, and Chen Yao actually calmed down. She hesitated. "But, don't you think there could be some danger? What if we get scammed?" I couldn't help but laugh inwardly. Look, even she knew there might be danger. But in my past life, it was I who said those words, and she naturally blamed me for all the consequences. She even pushed me off a cliff. I ask myself honestly, I have done nothing to wrong her. On the contrary, I have always treated her as a close and trusted friend. At the very start of university, Chen Yao told me that her family favored sons over daughters, and that her monthly living expenses were only half of her younger brother's. As for me, I am the only child in my family. My parents run a small business, placing us comfortably above the average middle-class standard. Though I have never experienced her hardships, I sympathize with her as a fellow young woman. Growing up in a family like that, it wasn't easy for her to get into college, and I often looked after her. In the end, she met a tragic death, having been given a second chance at life. I will never stoop so low again. I lifted my head to look at her and said softly, "There aren't that many bad people in the world. I think you're just being overly suspicious." I returned her words from the previous life to her verbatim. Chen Yao hadn't expected me, who had always been good to her, to speak to her like this. Her smile stiffened from being choked. But soon, she pulled herself together. Turning around, she clung to my arm and wheedled. "Aren't we best friends? Help me figure this out. Tell me, should I go or not? Good friend." What a ridiculous phrase. Hearing it from her mouth, I feel it insults those very words. I coldly withdrew my arm, still repeating the same words. "I'm glad you like it." Seeing that she still wanted to say something, I spoke first to cut her off. "You're an adult now. Why are you so indecisive? Just know what you're doing and have a clear mind about it. Isn't that enough?" Hilarious. If I still get involved with her in this new life, I'd be an idiot. I'm curious to see what happens to her this time without me standing in her way. Chen Yao, blocked by me time and again, finally showed a hint of venom in her expression. "How can you talk like that?" I glanced at her. Was I wrong? Chen Yao was so furious she was about to retort when the other two roommates, Tang Xan and Su Yi, returned. Seeing the two of us huddled together, they casually asked, "What are you talking about?" I didn't give Chen Yao a chance and immediately chimed in with a smile. Chen Yao said she wants to rent herself out during winter break, so she can get a new phone next year. How do you rent yourself out? It's like being a temporary rental girlfriend specifically hired to deal with relatives and friends urging marriage during the new year. There's a clear price tag. And it ends after the holiday. Chen Yao never expected that I wouldn't give her any face at all. She stared wide-eyed in panic and quickly denied it. "No, I didn't say that." "That's right. Only I know what kind of person Chen Yao really is. How could she let others know that she was renting herself out just to get a new phone? If word got out, would she still have any face left?" As she spoke, she kept shooting me meaningful glances. I acted as if I didn't see it, spreading my hands. "But weren't you just saying you wanted to go?" Chen Yao shot me a dark glare before forcing a smile through gritted teeth. "No, I was just joking with you earlier. How could I possibly go?" My two roommates also offered a perfunctory piece of advice. "Things like this aren't that simple. It's better not to go." I shrugged. "I see. Then I must have misheard." "Yes, you misheard." I smiled. I didn't say anything else. But I knew that Chen Yao had not given up on this idea. All it needed was one more push. 2 days later, after finishing my last exam, I was on the phone with my parents in the dormitory. My phone had been in use for 3 years, and its performance was not very good. The voice was a bit loud while I was on the phone. Su Yi was still in the dorm, and I didn't want to disturb her. So I started looking for my earphones. But before I could find them, Chen Yao pushed the door open and came in from outside. I deliberately slowed down my movements so that Chen Yao could clearly hear what I was saying on the phone. Through the receiver, my father's voice came through, exceptionally clear and doting. "Good daughter. After the exam, just relax and have some fun. Didn't you mention wanting to go somewhere before? Dad will give you the money to go." I grinned, deliberately acting cute. "Great. I've been looking forward to it all along. But aside from the trip, could I ask Dad for another reward?" Dad chuckled twice. Intrigued. "What reward?" "I won first prize in the English competition, so I'd like to get a new phone next year." Dad laughed heartily. I thought it was something serious. "It's just a phone. Actually, when I first started college, my dad said he wanted to get me a new phone. But I thought the one I had was still usable, so I didn't replace it. Now, the phone has been in use for over 3 years and freezes from time to time. So it's time for a change." I deliberately smiled and asked, "Even the latest iPhone?" Dad has always spoiled me. Of course. Of course. My precious daughter can change whatever she wants. When you come back, go pick something out with your mom, and I'll cover it. Thanks, Dad. Love you." After hanging up, I caught a glimpse of Chen Yao's back stiffening. Even the fist resting on the table was clenched so tightly it turned white. Then, as if she had made some kind of decision, she picked up her phone and began typing away. I didn't want to get involved in Chen Yao's matters anymore. So as soon as the break started, I signed up for the school's Dream Chaser team. The Dream Chaser team is the school's youth volunteer teaching team. every winter and summer break. Teams are organized to volunteer in various remote areas, bringing warmth and kindness to the children in the mountainous regions, helping them learn about the world outside and fill their hearts with hope for the future. Every morning, I wake up to a group of energetic and passionate students cheerfully greeting me with a crisp, "Hello, teacher." This is the happiest and most meaningful thing during the volunteer teaching period. Although I was busy every day, waking up early and going to bed late, I felt incredibly fulfilled. The teammates were also very friendly, and we all helped each other. It wasn't until just before the new year that the trip ended and I returned home. The next time I heard about Chen Yao was on the second day of the Lunar New Year. After dinner, I was watching TV with my parents when my phone, lying on the table, suddenly rang. The three characters counselor on the phone screen stood out strikingly. I calmly picked up my phone and only answered it after stepping out onto the balcony. In the dark of the night, the advisor's voice sounded heavy, tinged with a hint of reproach. "Yi Yen. Has Chen Yao been with you lately?" I curled my lips and let out a silent laugh. Sure enough, as I had expected, Chen Yao went to rent herself out. Soon. I shook my head in a daze. "No, I didn't." The voice of the counselor on the other end rose by 2 decibels. "How could there not be? Didn't you go traveling together? When did you separate? And where did she go?" I quickly pretended to be anxious and explained. "That's impossible. I was doing volunteer teaching all winter break, and only got back home a few days ago. When would I have had time to travel with her?" "What's wrong, teacher?" "Chen Yao. She." Even through the phone, I could tell the counselor was pacing anxiously. "Chen Yao hasn't come home. We can't find her. And her phone is unreachable. But her parents said she went traveling with you. They couldn't reach her these past few days. So they asked me for your contact information to check in." It turned out that Chen Yao hadn't gone home since winter break began. Her excuse to her family was that she was traveling with me. Her family didn't care much for her, so her not coming home was no big deal. But as the new year approached, with a mountain of housework to do, her parents started grumbling and thinking of Chen Yao. At first, when the call wouldn't go through, I thought Chen Yao was trying to avoid work. I didn't think much of it. A few more days passed, and I still couldn't get in touch with her. Only then did I think to ask the counselor for my number, hoping to reach Chen Yao through me. The counselor naturally wouldn't casually give out a student's contact information and carefully asked for the reason. Little did they expect the matter to be so serious. That's how tonight's phone call came about. But I'm curious, what excuse did Che and Yao use to get her parents to agree to let her travel? Logically speaking, Chen Yao's parents favor sons over daughters and don't treat her well. They only think of ways to exploit Chen Yao's value. How could they let her go traveling so freely? The counselor's urgent voice rang in my ears again. "Yi Yen, think carefully. Has Chen Yao contacted you recently? Or did she mention where she was going? Was there anything unusual before the holiday?" Naturally, I didn't hide the fact that Chen Yao had previously mentioned wanting to rent herself out. Although I also want to make Chen Yao pay a heavy price. But if I don't confess now, it won't do me any good if it comes to light later. I might as well be honest right now. After all, no one knows whether Chen Yao will come back. The counselor was both angry and anxious. "Why didn't you say so earlier?" I explained innocently. How was I supposed to know she was really that stupid, suspecting that Chen Yao must have run into trouble? The counselor immediately called the police. Of course, there was no doubt about what I said. After all, aside from having a close relationship with Chen Yao on a daily basis, I am still a model student with good character and academic performance. The counselor told me to keep an eye on my phone over the next few days, as the police might come to question me about the situation. I replied, "Okay," hanging up the phone. I looked into the distance and curled my lips into a smile. "Chen Yao, you really didn't disappoint me. Since in the past life you blamed me for stopping you from making money, then in this life, go ahead and earn it. I just don't know if you'll make it back alive." Putting away my phone, I returned to the living room. My parents saw that I didn't look well and asked me what had happened. So I told them about Chen Yao. It took a long while before my parents came to their senses. "Oh dear, what a misfortune. right in the midst of the new year. My parents are kind-hearted people. Even a stranger's misfortune would move them to pity and sorrow. My mother hugged me. My precious child. There are not many good things in this world that fall into your lap like manna from heaven. We must never entertain the idea of taking advantage. While we must not harbor intentions to harm others, we must also never let down our guard. Dad chimed in as well. That's right. We have the duty and means to raise you. If you ever face any difficulties, you can always tell your mom and dad. Mom and dad only have you as our daughter. If something were to happen to you, how would we go on living? Listening to their words, my heart ached unbearably. The impact of my accident in my past life must have been devastating for them. I wonder if they managed to live on well. The more I thought about it, the more I felt Chen Yao deserved it. Yeah, Mom and Dad, don't worry, I'll be fine. Because of this, they increased my living expenses for next semester by 1,000 yuan. They were afraid I'd be short on money but too scared to tell them, and end up like Chen Yao. The next morning, 2 police officers came to my door to ask about the situation. I concealed nothing and recounted Chen Yao's exact words at the time in full detail. Of course, I omitted the part where I deliberately provoked her. I lowered my head and cast my eyes down, feeling deeply remorseful. If I had known she hadn't given up on that idea, I would have stopped her. At the time, we all thought she was joking. Who would have known? Who knew she was this stupid? The police quickly caught the information in my words and exchanged a glance. You. Who does you refer to? I was startled and looked up at them. They are my and Chen Yao's roommates. The police officer realized and continued pressing. So, at that time, everyone in your dorm knew that Chen Yao was going to rent herself out. I shook my head. At the time, we all thought she was joking. And Chen Yao herself said she wouldn't go. My one-sided statement couldn't be verified by the police. The investigation into me would only intensify. But if I had 2 roommates backing me up, since we're all in the same dorm, it's no surprise that everyone knows about this. On my face, there was nothing but concern and openness, showing no fear of their investigation. The police officer nodded and didn't press further. All right, let's leave it at that for now. If Chen Yao contacts you, be sure to let us know immediately. Okay. Before they left, I still voiced the doubt I had earlier. The 2 police officers exchanged glances, then looked at me with somewhat peculiar expressions. In the end, however, they still answered my question. Why did Chen Yao's parents agree to let her travel? The reason is simple. Besides telling her parents that I was paying for the trip, Chen Yao also said that I am an only child. She said I was naive, easy to fool and manipulate, and that my family was wealthy. When the time comes, I'll trick her into coming home to be my younger brother's girlfriend. So that way our family's money will become hers. Her parents aren't good people either. As soon as they heard about such a great deal, they were all smiles. Not only did they agree to Chen Yao going on a trip, but they also told her to make sure she gets along well with me. After failing to get in touch with Chen Yao, they didn't worry that something might have happened to their daughter. Their first reaction wasn't to call the police either. They were convinced it was because Chen Yao and I were too close, that I was unwilling to let Chen Yao go home. Asking my advisor for my contact information was just an excuse to extort money from me. The reason was, I wouldn't let Chen Yao go home, which delayed the work at her house. So I had to pay compensation for the losses. Upon hearing the police officer's words, my parents' expressions changed. Seriously, what kind of person is this? How could they scheme against my daughter like this? Mom held me close, afraid that I would be upset, but I had already been through this once before. Why would I be sad? I lay in Mom's arms, looking as if I was heartbroken, but inside, I sneered. Chen Yao really was always thinking about how to scheme against me. I was such a fool in my past life. Actually treating her as a close friend. A black-heart person. How much kindness can you expect from them? After this, the police questioned Tang Xian and Su Yi one after another. Although their answers were more or less similar to mine, the meaning was essentially the same. Everyone thought Chen Yao was joking, not knowing she would actually rent herself out. In the end, The case was filed under the name of human trafficking. The news of Chen Yao's disappearance quickly spread throughout the class. Many gossipy classmates came to our dormitory to ask what had happened to Chen Yao. I don't know if Tang Xian and Su Yi said anything, but I didn't reveal a single thing, just in case Chen Yao escapes later and accuses me of spreading rumors. These are lessons learned from a past life. But even so, the classmates in the class, through the counselor's daily reminders in the group chat about staying vigilant against scams, still found out the reason for Chen Yao's disappearance. There were many who sympathized with her. But of course, there were also those who thought she deserved it. Chen Yao had always cultivated an image of innocence and gentleness at school, like a delicate little flower. But now that image had completely crumbled, because they couldn't imagine what kind of innocent little flower would rent herself out for a phone. And in the end, she was even trafficked. The counselor immediately held a class meeting after school started. Every sentence was about, there aren't that many pies falling from the sky. Don't rely on luck, be cautious and avoid being scammed. And in our dorm, we all tacitly agreed not to mention Chen Yao's matter again. Life went on as usual. I even felt that the air had improved a lot. But unexpectedly, Chen Yao escaped so quickly. When Chen Yao followed the counselor into the dormitory, Su Yi and I were about to head to the classroom for class. The counselor patted her on the shoulder. Chen Yao, what happened before is all in the past. Don't overthink it. From now on, focus on your classes, and give me a call if anything comes up. Chen Yao nodded, watching her leave. For the remaining 3, the atmosphere was a bit awkward. Chen Yao was so thin she looked almost gaunt, and her eyes were somewhat dim. She stood still, a sinister smile curling on her lips. What's wrong? Surprised to see me? Su Yi, the timid one, flinched and stammered. No, not at all. When did you get back? Are you okay? A flicker of coldness passed through Chen Yao's eyes. Then she slowly lowered the corners of her mouth. What could happen to me? She had already spoken to the counselor. She wouldn't reveal anything about her. I picked up the book from the table, smiling faintly. It's such a relief that you're okay. We've been looking forward to your return every day. Well then, take your time. We'll head to class first. With that, without waiting for her reply, they walked straight out of the dormitory. Su Yi quickly followed and ran out as well. When we arrived at the classroom, Tang Xian had already saved seats for both of us. She was also surprised to hear the news of Chen Yao's return. So, is she all right? Su Yi patted her chest, looking a bit startled. You have no idea. I was startled when he suddenly appeared just now. Look how thin she is. She must have suffered a lot. It's been 3 months already. I wonder how she managed to escape. I have to say, I'm pretty curious too. As she was speaking, Chen Yao walked in through the door. She came over to us. Seeing that there were no empty seats left around us, she frowned in dissatisfaction and complained. Why didn't you save a seat for me? The spot was taken by Tang Xian. At this moment, she was still immersed in the shock of seeing Chen Yao. We didn't know you'd come back to class either. Chen Yao turned on me, her tone accusing. How could you not know? Didn't you and Su Yi just find out I was back? As soon as she returned, she started causing trouble. And the faces of everyone in the dorm didn't look too good. I rolled my eyes at her. You never said you were coming to class. Besides, there are still seats in the back, you could just sit anywhere. Seeing that the teacher had already stepped onto the podium, Chen Yao could only stomp her foot in frustration. In the end, she reluctantly found a seat at the back of the classroom and sat down. Today's matter was far from over. During the last break, Tang Xian and I were discussing what to eat for lunch. Class ended late today, and the line at the cafeteria was already super long. We have class this afternoon too, how about we order takeout? I nodded in agreement. Sure. We can just pick it up downstairs at the dorm after school. As I finished speaking, I saw Chen Yao standing in the aisle right next to my seat. I want to order too, she said to me. Yi Yen, I want to eat grilled rice. Her tone was assertive, as if waiting for me to order takeout for her. They're blatantly treating me like a fool. But that's not right. Wasn't I exactly a fool in my past life? In fact, Chen Yao's vain nature had already shown itself long ago. She didn't have much living expenses. Yet the clothes she wore were anything but cheap. She even buys cosmetics, to the point where she often has no money for meals. Only I, the sucker, feel sorry for her, time and again. I take the initiative to invite her to eat together, and I don't even let her pay. At first, Chen Yao was still a bit shy. I said it was just to keep me company while eating, to be my companion. After a few times, seeing that I really didn't ask her to pay, she finally relaxed. Later on, she increasingly took it for granted that I would pick up the tab. She even takes the initiative to tell me what she wants to eat and asks me to order takeout for her. It wasn't until she died that I realized I was just her long-term meal ticket. Whenever I think about it, I feel like slapping myself twice. I looked up and shrugged. Of course, just order whatever you want to eat, Chen Yao said in a haughty tone. Order for me. I smiled. Sure, then transfer the money to me, and I'll order for you. As soon as the words were spoken, Chen Yao immediately jumped up. You want me to pay? Isn't it supposed to be your treat? The commotion on our side instantly drew the attention of the surrounding classmates. Everyone was eager to get the scoop. Fortunately, although I used to often treat Chen Yao to meals, but Chen Yao was also afraid that others would say she was thick-skinned, so she never mentioned it. Thus, no one else knew about it. So now that Chen Yao has said this, everyone thinks she's not quite right in the head. Tang Xian was already unhappy about the seat-saving incident earlier, so she directly snapped back at me this time. Order whatever you want to eat yourself. If you're not paying, do you expect to eat for free? What? Are we your dad or your mom? Her words humiliated Chen Yao, leaving her face pale with anger. I felt a surge of satisfaction inside. Chen Yao, we all have hands and feet, and we all have parents. We have no obligation to support you. If you're in trouble, you can work a part-time job and earn money through your own efforts, instead of standing here arrogantly demanding that we feed you. Almost at the same time, the people around her also began pointing fingers at her. So she's Chen Yao. That's her. The one who rented herself out for a few $1,000 and ended up being trafficked. See? With that shameless look of hers, you can tell she's got bad intentions. Better not get involved with her. However, Chen Yao didn't let up. She clenched her fists. When she turned to look at me again, tears were streaming down her face. Yi Yen, I've always treated you like a sister. Don't you feel even a bit of guilt toward me? I said nothing. I wanted to see what kind of story she could come up with. Chen Yao sobbed softly, but her voice was loud. If you hadn't encouraged me to go back then, how could I have ended up like this? I couldn't help but find it amusing. How did I encourage you to rent yourself out? Unless you give me a clear explanation, I have every reason to report to the police that you're slandering me. Although I did it on purpose. What evidence does she have? Someone like her, talking to me about guilt. Absolutely hilarious. As soon as I mentioned calling the police, Chen Yao was both panicked and furious. If you hadn't deliberately shown off in front of me that you were going to get a new phone, would I have fallen for it? I nodded thoughtfully. So you overheard my phone call with my parents. But what's wrong with me wanting to change my phone? By that logic, if we have anything good, we should hide it. And if you see or hear about it, that's us egging you on to commit a crime. Upon hearing this, everyone understood. Whispers. So that's how it is. Why is this person so despicable? Eavesdropping on a roommate's phone call is bad enough. But clearly, they were just jealous. With such a twisted mindset, they still have the nerve to shamelessly blame the other person when something goes wrong. It seems that from now on, we can't let her see any valuables, lest she gets tricked again and ends up blaming us. Chen Yao was both embarrassed and furious, stomping her feet in anger. Then why didn't you stop me? I smiled helplessly. I didn't know you could be this foolish either. Beside her, Tang Xian and Sui chimed in. We were all there at the time. You said it was a joke yourself. Who knew you'd actually go through with it? Exactly. You rented yourself out because you wanted a new phone. It's not like Yen Yen held you down and dragged you there. Right. We're all adults here. Don't you think through the consequences before making a decision? Can we really control your mind and your feet? Tang Xian and Su Yi just treated me to a hot pot with my scholarship money yesterday. Well, they ate my food. So naturally they'd take my side. You guys. Chen Yao didn't expect us to show no mercy at all. Eyes wide open. Her face alternating between pale and flushed. Hearing the undisguised contempt from her classmates, she turned and ran to her desk, burying her face in her arms and crying for the entire class period. In the end, she was even called out by the teacher. And once again, she was humiliated in front of the whole class. I thought this time I had completely fallen out with Chen Yao, but her skin is thicker than I imagined. A few days later, she bought some snacks and took the initiative to make peace with us. I was wrong about what happened last time. I got carried away in the heat of the moment and said those things. I'm sorry to all of you, and I hope you can forgive me this time. The three of us exchanged a quiet glance, each seeing confusion in the other's eyes. However, I wanted to see what other tricks she had up her sleeve, and I was curious about how she had actually managed to escape. I just went along with her to save face. I smiled and looked at her. You're right to think that way. After all, we're roommates, and we still have 2 more years to live together. Yes, I really know I was wrong. Having received the forgiveness of the three of us, Chen Yao quickly returned to her former self. She continued to attend classes with us as usual, and occasionally even had meals with us. As long as there was nothing bad involved, we would always nod in agreement, but we all tacitly understood we simply refrained from discussing anything important in front of her. I know that Chen Yao is enduring. Given her nature, she must still have some scheme in mind. Soon it was May, and I, as a representative of outstanding students, gave a speech at a school assembly. My partner was also the student council president, Senior He Zheng. After it ended, he wanted to invite me to dinner. Before I could even respond, Chen Yao appeared out of nowhere. Yen Yen, so you're here. Her smile was sweet, as if she had just noticed the person across from me. You're here too. Senior brother He. What are you chatting about? I glanced calmly at the sweet, honeyed smile on Chen Yao's face. Then I looked at He Zheng, who was 1.85 meters tall, handsome, and radiant. Got it. So Chen Yao likes He Zheng. He Zheng, being open and cheerful, didn't notice Chen Yao's feelings. I was just saying I wanted to treat Junior Yi Yen to a meal. I lost my manuscript before the speech, and she helped me find it. I see. Chen Yao confidently positioned herself between us. I originally made plans with Yen Yen to go eat together. So why don't you join us? Senior brother. I could see through Chen Yao's intentions, but I had no intention of dragging He Zheng into this, so I refused without a second thought. No need. Senior brother. It's just a small matter, so let's skip the meal. Chen Yao, you go back to the dorm first. I still need to find the teacher to sign something. With that, I took the documents and left directly, leaving Chen Yao behind. She looked at He Zheng with a hopeful expression. Senior, since Yi Yen isn't going to eat, how about the two of us go instead? The change of expression was very quick. Just a moment ago it was Yen Yen, and now it's a full name call. He Zheng refused cleanly and decisively. No need, Junior. I'm going with my roommate. A few people nearby seemed to notice what was happening. After He Zheng left, they chuckled softly in Chen Yao's direction. Chen Yao clenched her fists until they turned white, her expression dark and vicious. She remained silent for a long while before leaving the auditorium. These past few days, I felt Chen Yao's gaze on my back like a venomous snake, eerie and cold. But when I looked directly at her, she just smiled at me cheerfully. In front of others, she still acted as if we were close, but I had a vague feeling that she was brewing a storm. A few days later, I found out what she was up to, in the theater troupe's group chat. The leader mentioned that next Saturday they would go hiking together as a team-building activity. He asked who wanted to sign up. In my past life, it was during this team-building event that something happened to me, but the difference is, in my past life, we went hiking during the day and returned in the evening. It's a night hike to watch the sunrise. And we won't be back until the next day. Chen Yao is in the same club as me. And she saw this message too. At that moment, she held up her phone and grinned as she leaned in toward me. Yen Yen, are you going on the hike this Saturday? When she smiled at me, she looked like an innocent, guileless young girl. If I hadn't already experienced it once, I would find it hard to imagine that she could be as cold-blooded and ruthless as a venomous snake. I know that right now. The dark thoughts in her heart are festering unchecked, just like in my past life. She intends to push me off a cliff. After a moment of silence, I nodded. Go ahead. Rather than spending the next 2 years of college constantly on guard against her, it's better to take the initiative and set a trap. Expose her true colors. Soon it was Saturday. And a total of 13 people from the club had signed up. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, we set off from the school gate. The destination was the city's most famous Qingyun mountain, where the sunrise view from the summit is absolutely stunning. Although it was dark, our group remained in high spirits, chatting and laughing all the way as we climbed toward the top. Chen Yao consciously walked close to me, actively pairing up with me. I didn't refuse either. We reached the mountaintop at only 2 in the morning. Still early before sunrise, everyone sat together in a circle, snacking and playing games, until 4 a.m. The club president let everyone do as they pleased. Not long after, Chen Yao quietly sidled up to me. Yen Yen. I dropped my phone while wandering around earlier. Can you come with me to look for it? I glanced at her pocket and indeed couldn't see the outline of a phone. How could it have fallen? I don't know either. Yen Yen. Just come with me to look for it. Okay. She tugged at my arm, pleading softly. I stared straight into her eyes without saying a word. Just as Chen Yao felt a bit guilty, thinking I might have noticed something, I nodded in agreement. All right, let's go. She was overjoyed. Great. I knew you were the best. Yen Yen. I followed her in a certain direction, and she played her part quite convincingly. Walking along, I kept looking down at the ground. Strange. How could it not be here? After searching for 10 minutes, the path ahead had come to an end. I turned around to Chen Yao behind me and said, "There's no road here. Let's turn back." Chen Yao glanced faintly at the pitch-black, bottomless cliff behind me. She walked toward me, her smile eerie. "Yi Yen, you know what? I've actually always hated you. Why should you be born with better parents than me, while I have to rent myself out just to get a new phone? And I ended up running into human traffickers. If I weren't so lucky, I wouldn't have escaped." Standing at the edge of the cliff, I felt a bit scared. "What are you saying, Chen Yao? That matter is already in the past. You can forget that memory and start over." Chen Yao laughed maniacally, as if she had heard some kind of joke. "Forget? No. There's no going back." She let out 2 eerie laughs. "You know what? I've already killed him. Every time I wake from a dream, I'm always jolted awake in terror. All of this is because of you." My eyelids twitched, and I blurted out in shock. "Who did you kill?" Chen Yao took step after step, getting closer and closer to me. "Naturally. That old geezer who wanted to sell me. I've already killed one. What's another one to me?" The moment she got close to me, Chen Yao's eyes flashed with ferocity as she suddenly pushed me toward the cliff. "Ah! Ah!" 2 voices rang out at the same time. One was sent by me as I fell off the cliff, and there was another one. It came from behind Chen Yao. Realizing that someone else was present, Chen Yao spun around abruptly. Upon seeing the president and vice president leading 2 police officers behind them, his face instantly turned pale. His entire body collapsed to the ground. "No, it wasn't me. I didn't." Before I came out, I had already sent a message to the president. Ask him, in Chen Yao's name, to help look for the phone together. In reality, it was to lead him to watch this play and make him my witness. Also, keep the call with him going the whole time. And the place where I stood was not a cliff at all. Below the slope is a flat piece of land. I am a local of this city, having climbed Qingyun Mountain over a dozen times since childhood. So I am quite familiar with the terrain at the summit. I deliberately chose to stand in that spot, because it was dark, And Chen Yao was nervous and distracted while doing something wrong. She didn't notice. But I really didn't expect the police to show up. When Chen Yao was taken away, I was also rescued. The police took me to the hospital and contacted my parents. Fortunately, I only had a mild concussion and a sprained ankle. Nothing else serious. At the same time, I also learned why the police appeared at the top of Qingyun Mountain. Chen Yao had indeed killed someone. Back then, she had put herself up for rent on the platform. And soon someone contacted her. That man looked very refined and didn't seem like a bad person. He said it was because he liked men and feared his family would oppose it. So he thought of finding a rental girlfriend to deal with his family. He even took the initiative to offer his ID card to Chen Yao as collateral and prepaid a deposit of 2,000 yuan. Blinded by the money, Chen Yao didn't think it through at all and cheerfully followed him back to his rural hometown. She also thought that rural people were honest and simple, and wouldn't have any bad intentions. As a result, she was tied up as soon as she entered the house. She was knocked unconscious that very night and taken out of the village. After being transferred several times, even she didn't know which mountain area she had been taken to, until the last transaction. Only a man in his 50s was left to guard her. She took the opportunity while using the restroom to knock the person unconscious. A stone larger than a palm she struck with it more than a dozen times. At first, she only knocked the man out. But later she feared he would wake up and continue chasing her. So she hardened her heart and went for the kill. It wasn't until recently when someone discovered the corpse that the police were called. The investigation led all the way to Chen Yao. Only then did they bring people and pursue her to the mountaintop. Unexpectedly, they witnessed her committing another murder. My parents did not agree to forgive and insisted that Chen Yao pay the price she deserved. At the police station, Chen Yao cried and said she regretted it, but it was already too late. In the end, Chen Yao was sentenced to life imprisonment. This long life of imprisonment, let it be her atonement. As for me, I still have a bright future. The end.